Welcome to the Indie Musician Summit 2021 with your host, Kate Westwood, brought to you by Westwood Management.
Welcome back to the Indie Musician Summit. Kate here again. I'm so excited to introduce you to another Katie. We've got Katie Zaccardi all the way from New York in America. Katie is a business coach and she just has so much experience and insight into helping people understand the industry. So Katie, welcome to the summit.
Thank you so much for having me.
Woo! Now, we have just come across each other in the last couple of weeks, so it's kind of been a whirlwind romance, if you say, of connection. And looking at your website, I was blown away by all the things that you do and the way that you help and support artists and creatives. So why don't you just jump in and tell us about yourself, introduce yourself to the attendees, and give us a bit of your history and why and how you got into doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. Essentially, from a very young age, I was involved in the music industry. I studied music business in school. I graduated and worked in music publishing and music marketing, and I am an artist myself, and so I did the whole indie artist solo career, figure it out yourself thing. So I basically did like everything under the sun. I also worked with a music nonprofit, and when I graduated, I was struggling a lot with anxiety. So I was struggling with anxiety, navigating it myself, working like 7 different jobs at once in the music industry, not even an exaggeration, and kind of just dealing with like the burnout and working on my own wellness in order to get ahead, and also really navigating through like expectations that the music industry puts on people of like hustling all the time versus what I wanted and needed for my own life, health, and well-being. So fast forward, I am like several years into my job. I'm just not loving it. I know I want to help artists, and I know I want to do my own thing. So I quit and I started my own business as a wellness coach, and that was how the business started, and it's really evolved since then to encompass a holistic approach that involves strategy and mindset and wellness, because I really do believe that you need all 3 of those things to be successful, and if one's missing, you're probably not going to be successful, or you'll hit a wall, or you'll just not get as far as you want to be. So we work on all 3 of those things. I work with musicians, music teachers, and music industry-based coaches to help them grow their businesses and their bank accounts and be able to scale in a way that is in complete alignment with them.
Ooh, okay. I do feel like there's a much bigger story in that, and that's okay. I love it.
I'm like, do you have an hour? Because I could probably go into it, but...
Well, we're going to take some time today because I really think that, a 6-minute video with an interview isn't going to give you the context and the history and the real lessons that then an hour will do. So we're going to let it take as long as it takes. So that's
yeah. So as deep as you want me to go into that story, I'm happy to. I could talk on and on and on about it. So I try to keep it brief. But
I totally get we're comfortable talking about ourselves and our history. But I love that you have such a broad and varied history. And what I'm connecting with is that so many of the speakers, people who work in the industry, who are helping others, we're actually musicians ourselves. We're maybe we dabbled in being an artist or playing in bands. And so it's not always just someone who, is good at business and is, being a manager, but actually I'm an artist and I want to help other artists. So let's, combine the things. And I think that's really cool because it does give a perspective that someone who's never been in the industry, never struggled with those insecurities, never been on stage and, playing to a terrible audience, doesn't understand. And so I think that's really great. And I love that you're bringing your history and your holistic view, which is a really cool and unique thing as well, to what you're doing. So let's talk about the way that you're supporting small businesses and small creative businesses. And why is this such a passion for you? And what particularly are you doing in that space? As you said, music teachers and other industry professionals.
I mean, I think a lot of it is just very selfish, to be honest. Like, I myself am a musician and I am an entrepreneur, and I love the life I've been able to create for myself. And I've always just, of course, felt an inclination towards similar people who are also musicians and also entrepreneurs and figuring it out for themselves. So those are just the kinds of people that I'd like to work with. I also really believe that I love the music industry, but there's a lot of things that aren't so great about it. From the burnout, the hustle culture, the scarcity mindset, all of that I think keeps a lot of people small and holds them back, by no fault of their own in a lot of circumstances, because it's just simply the culture that the industry has created. And a lot of that is getting better. Especially as well, when I first started, it was like, no one was talking about mental health, no one was talking about wellness. Now it's a lot different, and a lot of people are talking about it, which is incredible. But I just really want to be someone who can make a change in that way and can help to better each individual person's life. Like, if I can help one person change their life, that's good with me. But I do hope that we also can make industry-wide change by the way that we all approach how we work and how we look at our businesses, how we view making money, how we view all of these things in a way that isn't so stressful or scarcity-based or anything like that.
Yeah, so interesting that tension, I think, between, when you're a small business, you do have to work long hours. You do have to make all of your own headway. No one's going to do it, and no one's going to work harder on it than you are. So whether you're a florist or a cafe or, an electrician or you're a musician, you do have to put your foot forward. You do have to promote yourself. You do have to get yourself out there. But that sense of, stress and hustle and competition, the fear of missing out, all that stuff in the background, that's not good for us. That's not good for anyone. It's not good for our mental health. It's not good for the way that we view ourselves and the value that we bring to our customers or our fans. So I love that you're wanting to highlight that. And I do love that that's changing. And here in Australia, I'm seeing a real shift to the sense of, actually, indie music's about community and collaboration. It's about supporting one another. We're not in competition with one another. There's room for all of us to find our little group of fans and connect with them. It's not, if we all want to be Adele and be at that level, yes, there's a heck load of competition because there's only so much room at the top. But down here, there's plenty of space. Yeah. And so taking away some of that pressure, and I would you say finding ways to do the same thing, like to move forward in your business, but without that negative pressure behind it?
Yeah, I think that it's really, it's so much as how the energy that you bring to something, right? Like, you can ultimately approach your music career however you want. You can probably be successful by hustling, and you can be successful by not hustling, right? So a lot of it is how people choose to approach it. But for me, in my life, I have really just begun to value freedom, of time, of money, of just having space, both physically and internally and everything, and being able to take care of myself. Like, that's the number one priority, and that's going to look different. Sometimes taking care of myself is like hanging out with friends and having fun, or just taking the morning off and then working late into the evening, but it's about having the choices to do it. And so I think, it really is like taking that pressure off. And a lot of that pressure that's there is completely unnecessary. It's like you were talking about feeling like there's not enough room for you, or feeling like you have to do it a certain way, or believing myths about the industry, like there's no money in music, or, it's so hard to make money in music and things like that, that when you really start to do that inner work, that's the key, in my opinion. I really feel like I am someone who is here to help people in the music industry who are willing to take an approach that allows them to do the inner work so that they can become a better person and create a better life for themselves on their terms, within their boundaries, and in a way that works for them, instead of just assuming they have to do it the way everyone else is doing it, or the way everyone else is telling them to do it, or with the beliefs everyone else has about the music industry that can often feel so suppressive.
So interesting. It reminds me of a slightly unrelated but purposeful story of when my sister got married. She was thinking, but I have to throw the bouquet, and I've got to wear a white dress, and I'm supposed to do all these things. And we kept having these conversations. I was like, Jenny, you don't have to do any of those things.
Exactly.
You don't have to have flowers. You don't have to have a cake. You don't have to. None of those things are integral parts of actually getting married. They're all superfluous traditional, to some extent, consumeristic things that feel like they're a part of it, but actually they don't have anything to do with the main points of that. And once she realized, I don't have to do that. I can choose what is important to me. I can choose, where I'm going to spend my money. So I want to have a really nice dress, but I don't care what food I have, or like being able to make choices around all those aspects and actually pick and choose exactly what you're saying. Where are my boundaries? What are my goals? My goal is to get married and to have a fun time with my friends. So then I'm going to choose to do things and spend my money in a particular way that will serve that goal, rather than trying to serve all the traditions and the way that things are done that actually don't help you with your goals or don't satisfy your needs. And so if you can see where the correlation between those things. But aren't you supposed to release music on a Friday? Don't you have to do all these things? Don't you have to do a music video? Don't you have to have all these things? None of those things are actually core parts of having a music career. They might be well known or lots of people do it, but you don't have to do it that way. It's not going to mean that you don't have a career if you don't do those things. I'd love to know your thoughts on, some of those traditions that we get stuck into. What are some of them that might come to your mind that we don't have to do?
Well, as you were talking, I was just thinking, this example is spot on. And I think a lot of people simply, it's like I was talking about earlier, kind of how they approach their career. Like, I kind of used to be this way, and I know there's a ton of people out there who think similarly, where, they didn't get the part in the play, or someone said they couldn't do it, or they couldn't be successful. And so everything they're doing is like to prove that person wrong, or they're in music because they really want to be in music, but everyone around them is telling them they shouldn't do it, or they're going to be broke or whatever. And so they know they love it, but deep down they just have this feeling all the time of like, I'm not worthy, I'm never going to make money, it's going to fail. And so all of these things affect how we show up. And so I think that, like, from a very broad basis, it's in how we approach things. Like, why are you doing this in the first place? Like, first take a step back and honestly ask yourself, why are you doing this? And then you might be like, 'cause I love it. Okay, well, why are you doing this thing? Because someone told me to, because I'm trying to prove this person wrong, because that's the way it's always done. Keep going deeper and really figure out what is the true meaning behind it. And it's completely neutral. It doesn't mean that anything is good or bad, or one reason is better than the other, but as long as you are doing it because you want to do it and because you feel it's right for you, that is, in my opinion, the number one priority. I don't get too hooked up about, like, release on this day or ignore this thing, or do that kind of thing. And I think that in a lot of what I work with my clients with is growing their audience, getting clear on their brand and social media strategy to do that, and launching new offers, whether it's a Patreon or a coaching program or something like that. And I think a lot of people can sometimes be turned off because they feel like there's a certain way to do it. You have to be on this platform, you have to use this strategy. If I'm not posting this amount of times, then I'm totally in trouble, or I have to launch this way, or, some people say, my audience hates when I launch or when I promote, I'll never do it, or, I always have to be launching in this specific way. And while I definitely teach an approach, I think it's so crucial to keep an open mind entirely, because your interests, your music, your specific business, your audience are all going to need a tailor-made for you approach. It's not a one-size-fits-all in any circumstance in the industry. So again, doing that internal questioning, but also choosing to work with people and have a support system around you who really, yes, provide guidance, but also allow you to explore and choose the path that is best for you is so important, because I think that in so many places, people are put in boxes. This is the strategy, this is the way, this is what's right, and I simply don't believe in that because I just feel like it's not true. If you're not showing up and if you're not in alignment with what you're doing, again, it's probably not going to go as well as you want it to go. Could still go well, but it just won't be as successful as it could if you were in complete alignment with what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like just buying a wedding package and turning up and using the flowers and the dress and the food that has already been picked for you. And you put it on and you go, okay, we got married, but it wasn't me. It didn't serve my family, my audience, and I didn't get to do the things that I was passionate about. So I love that, there is an understanding that there are some, things that are well known, like New Music Fridays or doing some singles or, different things, but we don't have to be locked into those things. As an indie artist, we get to choose the direction and the scaling of our business. We get to choose how we do that. And I often say to my artists is we get to experiment. And there's very low cost and low consequence when we're at level, because it's not like you've got a $50,000 marketing campaign that is determined on whether this email goes well or whether that video clip hits and gets in all these spaces. So we haven't got that, pressure of this label, telling us what to do. We can experiment. We can try different things. We can explore that, how it connects with our audience as well. So I love that you're encouraging people to do that. And being able to, figure out who is it for you and what is that motivation? What's your why? Coming back to that and not getting caught up in all but I'm supposed to do this and this is what everyone else is telling me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Well, let's jump into what you were sharing before, that you love to help people figure out about their audience. So this is a really big thing that it's a very business thing. And we don't, as most creators, we think, well, I just want to play music. I just want to and then expect that people will just find us and hear us and follow us. And then, we're winning Grammy Awards or, selling out shows. The whole point of business is you have to have people, customers who want to buy your product and who want to buy it again and who are going to tell their friends and their family about you. Otherwise, you've got people who maybe buy something once, but if you don't have repeat customers and you don't have new customers, that you don't really have an ongoing business. And so you and I both work in this space, helping artists to understand that this beautiful creative that you've got and this brand and this idea of who you are won't exist and won't continue unless you set up a business framework. So let's talk about fans and finding fans and engaging with fans. Why do we need to be good at this? How do we as artists, what are your recommendations for approaching this whole thing of finding fans and keeping fans?
Yeah. It's funny. I had a little bit of a back and forth with a guy in Clubhouse once, where he was like, the most important thing is the music. And that's it. And all you need is good music. And I was like, no. The music is important. Don't get me wrong. You need to have good music. But if you have no way to get that music out there, you're just listening to your own music in your room by yourself, and that's that. So it's a difference between being a hobbyist or like having fans versus not. You know what I mean? And I think that on social media, there is so much potential there. And it's really important to know who you are and who you serve. And yes, I say who you serve. And you might be, as a musician, thinking, well, what do you mean? I'm not a teacher. I'm not like selling a product or something. How am I serving someone? Well, you are. Like, you're in service in some way. Maybe that service is pure entertainment through your music, but also through your personality. Even Adele, who you brought up earlier, I don't know if you've seen, but she's prepping for her new release, and she did like an Instagram live. And what is funny about her, yes, people love her music, but clips of her live are going around Instagram or going around TikTok because it's funny, like because she's funny and she has a certain personality that people resonate with, and in her music she sings about certain things that people resonate with. And so yes, she's a superstar, and so that's a big example, but that it's even more important on the smaller level. You need to connect with people. A big mistake that a lot of artists make is coming from a very me perspective. Listen to my music, listen to this video or watch this video that I made, follow me on Spotify, support me, join my Patreon, and it's just like begging for people to take actions, and like, that's it. Come to my show and that's it. People are not connected with that. No matter how good your music is, if you are not of service to your audience, they're going to check out, or they're definitely just not going to check in. And you want people checked in. You want people checking your Instagram stories or watching your TikToks being like, what is this person doing next? Oh my gosh, I just love them. So whether it's you're funny, you have a lot of wisdom or insight that you share, maybe, you pick something around the themes of your brand or your music that you can really talk on, whether it's romance or breakup songs, or you write a lot about mental health or anxiety, and so your brand is focused around those topics. Knowing your brand and knowing what core pillars you can talk about, as well as personal connection points that people can really resonate with you on a personal level. Like, for instance, you might be a dog mom, or you might really love baseball or something, I don't know. And your fans are really connecting with you on those things that aren't related to your music, but are related to you. That's important as well. So I kind of just brushed the surface on a lot of things there. But that's the initial like foray into it.
So what you're saying is that go back to that. It's not just about having good music. You have to find a way to share that music, and you've got to have people who want to listen to it. And so,
exactly.
And then you've got to find a way to, tell me if I'm correct, to get their engagement more than just the 3-minute song. And so it's building some kind of thing that you might have in common with them. Is that what you're saying there?
Yeah, because I mean, listen, you have the music, you're writing or you're recording the music. The getting it out there, in a sense, is relatively simple, because it's like you pick the social media platform. It's going to be TikTok or Instagram, or somewhere else, depending on, know your audience, like know where your audience is hanging out based on demographics of who your ideal audience is. But right now, the most potential for growth is on TikTok. And then I would say secondary is Instagram Reels, though I don't find that to be as effective or as strong as an algorithm to really attract in, like, your people, whereas TikTok has it truly nailed in. So this is especially assuming that you're starting from scratch. If you're not starting from scratch, you probably have an Instagram and maybe you have a TikTok too. So don't still have an Instagram. I think it's great, but you want to be nurturing those people. But when you're trying to grow, it's about reaching new people, and it's about resonating with your current people so that they share and they help you grow organically, because they're just sharing it with people because they love it so much. So it's like, yeah, write the good music, pick the platform, show up, create good content, and connect. Those, I would say, are like really the 4 pillars. And when it comes to creating good content, you want to be super clear, again, on who you are, how you serve, what your brand pillars are, and what your personal connection points are. And then that'll help connect just by creating content that resonates with people. And then you can take it to the next level by continuing to engage with your followers, making sure you're replying to comments, replying to DMs. I just turned off my ring light, like, while in the middle of talking. And making sure that you are engaging in whatever way possible, so that you can really build that relationship there.
Okay. All right. So what we're talking about is building relationships. So this is something that I often say, is that with music is you want to build your numbers. So you want to find more people, but you also want to go deep with the people that you already have. And so you want to kind of split your time between the two things. So you'll be, running Facebook ads that help you find new people and new fans, but then you also want to go deeper and build that relationship and build that whole know, like, and trust factor, so that when you have a show, or you have a new music, or you've got new merch, you actually have people who are like, yeah, cool, I would love to do that because I really like you and I trust you.
Yeah.
How long does it take to do that? Is that something that we do in a couple of weeks, a couple of months? Let's say someone's getting started right away, and they're, maybe they're waiting till they want to release, but they haven't got an audience yet. How do we get started with building that audience? You did talk about brand, but does it take a long time?
That is such a good question. And it's like, I don't think there's an answer, to be honest with you, because I think it can take years. But if I say that, then somebody's going to be like, well, what about if I just go viral? Yeah, you're right. If you just go viral, then sure, you just built it overnight, I guess. But you can't always predict those things. So, of course, we all want to hit that virality, like, because that's amazing. But I think that what's more important is to focus on slower and steady growth. Because what you don't want is to just be putting out content out there that's not really you, or that you're just doing for like the shock factor, or you're trying to go viral. And we all know that when you try to go viral, you don't go viral, because people can tell when you're trying to force something. So instead of trying to just go viral and do it quick, which is not going to really work, creating genuinely good content. And I'm going to be honest, this is something I've been saying more recently, and it's a little bit, I don't know. Some of you guys might be like, what is she saying? But a lot of content's not good. A lot of content that you're creating isn't good. And that's okay. That's okay. You need to sometimes create bad content to get to the good content, but taking like an actual critical look at your content and being like, would I engage with this? Because sometimes we have to create stuff to get to the good stuff. So I'm not saying be stuck in perfectionism, but a lot of people think that they deserve to go viral, or that like they should go viral, or they should get traction for this, that, or the other thing just because they showed up. But people resonate with good content that is engaging, that is funny, that is that resonates with them, and that makes an impact in their lives. So take a critical eye to your content. And I don't say this to put anyone like in a perfectionist spiral. We can talk about how to get out of that too if it happens, but like do that just so that you're always challenging yourself and asking like, would I share this? Would I like this? Would I engage with this? Is this respondable? Or is this just something that I feel like I'm supposed to post? You know, because that's how a lot of people show up, is like, oh, I'll post a clip of the single, or I'll post a clip of the music video. Well, is that really getting people to take action or feel moved or engage or laugh or anything like that? If it's not, we might want to rethink something. So that was a tangent. But I do think it's really important because, again, creating good content is the key. And it might take a little bit longer, but it's better to build slower but deeper connections rather than just get an influx of people for a random video you created that has like nothing to do with your brand or your goals, and then you get a bunch of followers who don't actually care about you and aren't gonna buy your stuff when it matters. That's pointless. Like, we ultimately want super fans, not just numbers for the sake of numbers. So stay with the good content. And if it takes a slow and steady approach, it's okay. Know that if you have 100 diehard fans versus 1,000 people who don't really care about you but are just a number on your profile, you're in a better spot with those 100 people.
Yeah. It is hard to, as an artist, because we're so obsessed by numbers. And I see people all the time, oh, we got this many streams and we got this many. And, you know, we do have this number stat obsession. And
Yeah.
I use the example, it's social proof. It's cool, that if your numbers are going up and you're getting reviewed and, you're getting streams, that's really cool. But it's all about whether it connects to your goals, and
Exactly.
actually whether it connects to real people who are really connected with you, and, who actually know you and trust you and care about you. And I often talk about, you want to, if we go into what does good mean, and I think that anything that helps up the care factor, and the more the people care about you, then the more they're going to be engaged and going to listen. If they don't care about you, they'll move across. And so thinking about, does this help them get to know me? Does it help them to care about me and what I'm passionate about? And does it show that I'm interested in them as well? So I like that whole back and forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So good. Well, I'm excited to see what people are going to do. I did start a TikTok. Now I am hitting close to 40, and so TikTok is not really where my audience is. And so there is this balance of finding, a platform that's working for you, but also, would you say, you've got to know if your audience on there. My people are not on TikTok, and so I could try to spend time on that, but I want to be where my audience is and where they're actually going to engage with me. And I don't think, for me personally, that's on TikTok. So it's about finding the right platform, right?
Yeah, I do think I always encourage people to like dig a little bit deeper, because I think it's easy to assume people are here or are not there. So like, do your actual due diligence, like get on the apps, try to work with the algorithms to get into, like on TikTok, you have different sides of TikTok. So get to whatever your side of TikTok would be and like truly see if there are people there or not. Similar with Clubhouse. Instagram and Facebook are a little bit wider nets, but we also know the different demographics there. If your audience skews older, they're more likely on Facebook. If you're Gen Z or you talk to Gen Zers, they will never create a Facebook, like unless they absolutely have to. But I know my sister who's a Gen Z, she's like, yeah, I see no reason for that. It's never going to happen. Like, they're just not there. So, but if you have a Facebook group or you have a Facebook page and it's popping off, great. Let's capitalize on that. Let's be where your audience is. And don't underestimate other newer platforms that might be good for growth and might also have your audience there, even if it's not as obvious. And I hear that about TikTok too, and you might be completely right. But there are a lot of people on TikTok. It's just about getting to the right corner of the platform, especially with that platform itself, you know? So it's going to be different for everyone. Again, we want to take an approach that works for you, but that's basically just like do your due diligence and don't count anything in or out just because. Like, really survey your audience, play around with the apps, see what you like, see where your people actually are, and then make a decision from there.
Great advice. I love that. Maybe I'll delve a little bit deeper into it. It scares me a little bit, to be honest. I'm probably like the Gen Zs are like Facebook, and I'm like TikTok. Anyway, you know.
I love it. I love TikTok. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm like so over Facebook, except for groups. That's the only good thing about it. And then like Instagram is hit or miss with me. I haven't loved a lot of the updates that they've made, but for entertainment purposes, I love TikTok. I love it.
So many different things, and that can be overwhelming for artists as well, thinking about another thing I've got to go on. And so I love it's about just touching base, dabbling, and then making the choice about where you actually want to spend your time according to what works for you, but then also what is going to serve your audience. So I love that. All right, let's jump into this whole thing of, because I'm asking these two big questions because these are areas that you're really passionate about and that you've got knowledge about. So we talked about this whole thing about fans and finding fans, and I think you have a course about this as well. So we'll talk about that and we'll pop that in the links as well. But let's talk about this whole other aspect of you've got music out, you've got an audience, and now we need to promote. We need to market. You can't have a business that just exists and people just find you. That just doesn't happen. That even a viral post doesn't necessarily mean money in the bank. And so, it can be challenging. And as so many creatives, where we just want to focus on the music. We don't have to worry about all that business stuff. But you do need to pay attention to it. And it can be scary. It can be overwhelming. It can be expensive. It can be challenging. What are your tips and strategies for artists who want to start promoting, who want to start marketing, who maybe are afraid of the challenge of it, the expense, and also the whole thing of, I don't want to beg, I don't like selling, it feels weird to ask for people to buy or engage with me. How do you help? I love your ideas about how we overcome some of those limitations or those boundaries that we might have in regards to promoting music.
I mean, first things first is it doesn't have to be expensive to market. I think when you've created a genuine relationship with your audience, it makes selling so much easier. And then you don't have to put a bunch of money into a PR campaign or ads or anything like that if you don't want to. Of course, if you have the funds, go for it. But like, if you don't want to, or you're just not there yet and you're not able to, that's totally fine. You can do a lot organically, and the key to organic marketing, in my opinion and experience, is relationships. So again, focusing on what we just talked about, really, really nurturing your audience, creating a relationship with them, speaking with them, creating engaging content. When it comes to sort of that mindset piece where you want to show up and promote, or you want to talk about things, or you want to sell, but you're just feeling really insecure about it, let's look at that. Examine what's coming up and notice if the thought that's coming in your head around it is your thought or something that you've sort of been trained to believe about the industry. Again, I think in a lot of times, I hear from so many artists like, I could promote other people, but not myself. Well, why? Like, do you think that people who promote themselves are sleazy? Do you think that your audience won't trust you? Do you think that musicians who promote themselves like aren't real musicians? The big guys, they don't have to show up on social media all the time. They don't have to do this. Yeah, that's not you though. You know what I mean? It's like they have teams putting loads and loads of money behind them to market in other ways. If you're not doing that, we gotta think about other avenues, So really looking at what thoughts and beliefs are coming up, and then doing a little bit of mindset work around them to see, like, how is this thought serving you right now? Because it is serving you in some way. It's keeping you safe, or it's keeping you, in the same place, or it's allowing you to feel like you have some sort of stability, or you have a connection with others because this is what the other people complain about, something like that. And also, how is it not serving you? And how is it sabotaging you? And what are the bad habits that might be coming from it? And then asking yourself, what do you really want to believe, and how do you want to approach this? Now, I'm simplifying it here just because, we're on like an interview and I'm not working with someone right now. It does sometimes take work and journaling and even talking with a coach if you're a verbal processor especially. But the first step is really starting to acknowledge those thoughts and acknowledging, okay, I'm noticing that this isn't serving me. I'm noticing that I'm feeling resistance to showing up and promoting myself, and that I'm telling people I can't do it, or I don't like to promote myself, or my audience doesn't like it, or it's so sleazy when people promote themselves, and I'm noticing that thought's not actually serving me, because what I want is to be able to show up and share what I have with the world, and I'm not doing that because of what I'm feeling or thinking, right? So we want to acknowledge it, and then of course work to sort of replace those beliefs with stories and beliefs that serve us more. And the last thing I'll add is that a lot of people, again, I said this earlier, but they approach it with a me kind of approach. It is about them. And so when you can approach it from a place of, my audience needs this, my audience wants this. Like if you see, for those of you who are on TikTok, I know we're talking about it a lot, but sometimes artists will go viral on TikTok of like, hey, I wrote this song for this thing. What do you guys think? And you'll have people in the comments being like, release this now. When is this coming out? Oh my God, this is amazing. I need this. I need this on Spotify. I want you to imagine that every day you wake up to messages like that. If you woke up to messages of people being like, release this now, I need to listen to this, you would be like, okay. You wouldn't feel like you're promoting it, because you'd be like, you're asking for it. I know that you need this. Here it is. I'm so excited to share it with you so that I can give you guys what you want. That is the case all the time. It just might not be as obvious because you don't have a viral video or something like that where your audience is commenting that over and over. But that is the approach that we need to take. You are in service to your audience. They need what you have to offer, whether it's music, a gig, a Patreon, whatever it is. It's not about them supporting you because you're desperate to make money and you're such a broke musician. It's about you being of service to them.
Love it. I love how passionate you are about that. And right, it's again, thinking about the business side. What is it that my audience want? Am I asking those questions? Am I responding to those things rather than just being about me? And that, again, is such a hard thing to do as an artist, as a creative. I just want to paint. I just want to, write. I want to sing. I don't want to have to think about those things. And it's this contentious point all the time. I'm sure you find that. I find that with my artists. I even find that with myself a little bit. Oh, I've got to do social. Okay, that's fine. Okay, you can do it. Yeah. But to be honest, in this day and age, even if you are Adele, she still has to make business decisions. She might have a team of people around her, but she's still the CEO of her Adele music. She has to be able to think through, what are my goals? Where am I going? Maybe other people are doing that work for her, but she's needing to direct that. And so I love what you're offering and how you're helping artists realize that you need to understand the music industry to be able to work in it well, to be able to find the avenues to serve yourself and serve your audience, but also to then be able to go, okay, now I'm ready to hire a graphic designer to create the product that I want. Or now I'm ready to hire a booking agent to be able to book the type of gigs that I want. But I know what I want, and now I engage the people to help me with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even with promoting, hey, this is the type of ad I want. This is the goal. We want, views, or we want ticket sales. Can you help me do that? And you're able to direct the people that you're engaging with to do the work for you, just like a CEO. Yeah. The CEO doesn't do all the work, but they know it needs to be done.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that can be a hard thing to think about, but that's what you need to do if you want to get going in the indie music world. Otherwise, you're going to probably be frustrated, or you may get taken advantage of, sign bad deals, or 5-10 years down the track going, oh, I didn't I actually often talk about expectations, and the worst times are when we have expectations that we didn't know we had until they weren't fulfilled. So I didn't know that I didn't know I wanted that to happen until it didn't happen.
Yeah.
We don't take time to think through what we're expecting. When I release a single, what are you expecting that it's going to do? Well, I'm expecting it's going to go viral. I'm going to get, well, okay, let's talk through why that probably isn't going to happen. And you're actually way less disappointed, and you're more happy with the process because you have realistic expectations. And a lot of those things don't come to light until you have conversations with people like you, Katie, which is so valuable. And what I'm wanting to do, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the summit was I want to raise up the value of music coaching and artist coaching and business coaching, because so that everyone's like, oh, you don't get coaching? Oh no, everybody does, because we recognize this is so important, because we're not business people, right? We're creatives. How the heck do you think that you can have a successful business if you don't know how to run a business, or you haven't got something in you? I'm passionate about this. Oh my God.
And let me tell you this. I wholeheartedly believe this is the future of the music industry. Like 100%. And here's why. Indie artists are at a place where whether or not your goal is to get signed, but let's assume your goal is to get signed by a label or publisher. Labels and publishers are wanting to see people who have essentially already developed themselves. So they've got an audience, they've got traction, they've got money-making potential, if not have already proven that they're able to make money on their own accord. So if your goal is to get signed, you still have to build yourself up in such a way that you already have a business. You already have a successful artist career, right? And even if you don't want to get signed, obviously your goal is to have a successful artist career. So what does that mean? It means several things. Number one, in order to build yourself up to that point, you can't do it alone. It's just, listen, you can, but good luck. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy. You're probably going to burn out a ton. That's not the way I like to do things. If that's for you, cool, but I think that the smarter way to work is to hire people who have done it and who can help you get further faster. So more indie artists are going to need coaches in order to get to a point where they can even get signed in the first place. If that's their goal, if not, just to be able to grow their careers. Not only that, a lot of artists, I believe, again, this is my prediction, are going to turn to coaching as a side hustle, if you will, because, again, in order to get to that point in your career, you need money, you need income, you need multiple streams of income, and you can make money from music, but a lot of times it's not always the money that you want or are desiring from just having one stream of income of Spotify streams or just gigging or things like that. Certainly sometimes it's enough, but I say this especially just knowing what's happened in the last 2 years, where a lot of artists were making income gigging and then it was completely taken away from them and they had nothing else. You do not want that. You do not want all of your eggs in one basket. So when you have an expertise, whether it's piano, voice, stage presence, social media, even maybe something completely unrelated to the industry, maybe you love gardening as a passion and you teach on that, like anything that you can have this coaching or teaching stream of income, I see a lot of artists picking that up as a side hustle, or I don't even really like that word, but like additional income stream, if you will, additional offer, if you will, so that they can build a more holistic business that supports them with multiple streams of income, with several things going on, so they have the time and the freedom to build out their music career and the money as well to do it without feeling completely broke. So that's my theory, and as you can tell, the bulk of that means like music teachers and coaches are going to become so much more important. Respect them if you don't already, and like think about how that's going to play into your life and how that can move your career forward, because I think that is the future of our industry.
I love that. And I would agree. That's the business that I'm in. That's what I'm doing. I recognize when I was releasing my first album as an indie artist, I had no idea what I was doing. And at the same time, I was studying music business. And I thought, I'm studying to be a manager who would not choose to work with me as an artist. Where do I, as an artist, get help to be at the point where I could be approached by a manager or enticing to a manager? And I thought, I need to help myself. And so I decided to be the change that I wanted to see in the world and to learn all I could to support early stage artists who are just doing the music is hard enough, let alone trying to think about the business side. And so I love that you're doing that, and you're encouraging people to think about, when you're an emerging artist, you have to have multiple income streams. You've got to think about exactly what you were saying. It's not just Spotify. It's not just my copyright income. It's not just the sales from my music or my gigs. It's also playing for another artist, being a session musician here and there, working a day a week in a music school or coaching someone else. We've got this multiple streams of income, and hopefully we can do that in the music industry, not having to work as a checkout chick or, stacking shelves. Totally fine if we want to do that, because then we can actually use our skills in the industry we're a part of. Because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people across the world who will never be household names, never sell out shows, but who make a full-time, decent, livable income working in music. And most of them probably have multiple streams of income. And so, yes, we shoot for the big stuff. Of course, we have that the goal. But if in the end we're earning 80 or 90 grand a year doing something that we love, that's not terrible. That's not shabby. That's wonderful. That is. There are people who would kill for that, who work thousands of hours and never get to that point. So I love being able to, sadly, pull people's perspective down that we're probably not going to be Adele, but we can work towards that $80,000, $50,000 to $80,000 a year, which is not a shabby income. And if you're doing what you love, that is worth way more than just a really big pay packet. So, I kind of feel like we're on the same wavelength there in terms of
absolutely
how to approach being in this industry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love that. And I would love to see more coaches be raised up and understand how to give what they know and share it with others. And I love that you're doing that. You're helping to train the trainers, to coach the coaches. So talk to me just a little bit about some of the things that you do so let's say there's an attendee on the summit who wants to, hey, I'd love to get involved. I love Katie's vibe. I'd love to be involved. I'd love to work with her. What things do you offer that people can be a part of?
Yeah, so I've got a couple self-paced offers that you can join. The Wealthy Musician Bundle, which is all about money and money mindset. There's a budget tracker in there, and it's fun, I swear to you. It's not boring. And some videos around money management and mindset. So if you're feeling like you just need a boost in the finances, that's definitely for you. I also have a self-paced course called the Audience Builder Bundle, which is like literally everything you need to know about social media and branding yourself to have a strong social media strategy. It is so good. We recently updated it. So if you're focused on growing your audience, I cannot recommend that enough. And then as far as working with me in a tighter knit container, I run a program called Out to Launch with Brie Noble, who is another music industry coach. That is specifically for music teachers and coaches who are launching their first program. Right now, we're running a round. I'm running a round of Out to Launch Patreon, which we may or may not do again. So if you do have interest in that, feel free to let me know, because this might be the last time we do it. I'm not sure. It depends on the interest. And then otherwise, I also have a mastermind program and private coaching. So I know that was a lot, but all in all, you're welcome to check out my website, which has everything on it. Or just shoot me a DM on Instagram, Katie Zaccardi on Instagram, and tell me what you want and what kind of support you like, and we'll make sure you get to the right place.
Fabulous. I love that. So broad and so many different options. Now you also have a free resources about how to promote your biz, right? Without being sales. Yeah. So we'll put the link to that in the notes as well, so people can grab something for free. If that's been something that they've highlighted, yes, I need to get past this mindset of being afraid to sell or being uncomfortable with that. So I love that you are just really so passionate. You're working with people. I love that you're working with Brie. I love a lot of the stuff that she does. And so this sense of, hey, we're just part of this big community.
Totally.
Let's support one another, and let's recognize that we need help. And we don't, it would be so sad to have artists who burn out and who get lost in the hustle and then realize they're doing things they didn't even want to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. And they wasted time and money and energy, burnt relationships. Let's not do that. Let's connect with one another. Let's learn from one another. And any final thoughts as we kind of wrap this up, because the time has gone so fast.
I know. Final thoughts. I think the final thought is really always check in with yourself. Like, don't do something just for the sake of doing it. And you're probably going to learn a ton on this summit, and you're going to want to implement every single thing, and you're going to feel overwhelmed because there's so much there. Not everything is for you at every given time. Sometimes you do have to choose what is the priority, what feels in true alignment with me and where I'm at right now. And that's okay. Like, being focused and being intentional is better than being broad and scattered.
I love that. Focusing, dialing in, and just going for it. I love that, the whole sense of that we've got all these years to do. We've got plenty of time to develop our careers, to connect with people, and to make great music. So
yep.
Yay, Katie, this has been so lovely. I'd love to have another Kate now. I just ask you, I'm actually a Catherine. Are you?
Me too.
Okay, all right. How do you spell it?
With a C.
I'm an
C-H.
R-Y. Oh, okay. I'm an R-Y-N.
With a K or a C?
Yeah, with a K.
Yeah, okay. I confuse people all the time because they see Catherine with a C and Katie with a K, and they're like, excuse me, what is going on there? And I'm like, well, I'm named after a family member, so that's my name, but my mom didn't want people calling me Catty, like in Mean Girls, even though that movie wasn't even out, I don't think, but, like, yeah, that movie definitely was not out, but I'm like, I'm not that young. But it's still, she was the original Catty. She was like, I know people will call her Catty, and she didn't want that, so it's Katie with a K.
Love that. And you know what? Simple questions like that just help us to get to know each other. I love that.
Exactly.
Well, Katie, we will stay connected. It's been such a joy to have you on the summit, and I know that people are really going to enjoy the content, the wisdom, and just the confidence. I feel like you really exude so much confidence and encouragement. I feel encouraged by our chat, and can't wait to see how people are responding to you, and also checking out what Katie's doing and engaging with her incredible resources to help us with our career. So thanks for being part of the summit.
Thank you for having me.